My name is Chris Hewitt. I'm from AGO, and I just want to thank the USGIF for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today. And the reason I wanted to talk to industry was to explain some of the significant changes that AGO is implementing in how we engage with industry, how we build our systems, and to communicate to you, I suppose, what you can expect from us over the long term, and a little bit about what we expect from you. AGO has a very large and ambitious capability program over the next 10 years, and there is a very significant role for industry. But it's a different role to what it has been over the previous 10 years. And it's going to require significant communication, because we're moving from a paradigm where industry told us what to deliver to one where we're trying to reverse that and be very much driving the deliveries. So the key takeaways from today that I want you to take are that there is a period of sustained and sufficient funding that will build a modern strategic GEOINT capability for the Australian government, and that in doing so, building Australian industry and taking advantage of Australian small to medium enterprises is a key objective. But I do want to reiterate to our international industry partners, of which there are many represented in this hall, that they also will remain key partners of us. And in fact, we'd like to transition that relationship from a less transactional one to much more of a strategic relationship. So before we get to the role of industry, just some points on our role and what it is that we do for the Australian government. So AGO provides the Australian government's strategic GEOINT capability. Everything from oceanographic, hydrographic data, through the tactical foundation layer, to high-end GEOINT intelligence to satisfy government's highest priority intelligence requirements. At the core is ensuring that Australian government and the Australian Defence Force have decision superiority. So it's entirely in line with the symposium's theme about decisions, data leading to decisions, leading to action. AGO operates in the TRL 9 and 10 space. We don't do research and development ourselves, but we look to others to bring the future to us. Not that we just accept it, we do work to shape it, and in fact, I want to talk to you as to how we can do that with you. And we partner with Australian government, allied governments, to achieve that technological advantage. And of course, industry is our single biggest technology enabler. So things are changing in the Australian GEOINT world. Now, I know all of you have read the Australian Defence White Paper cover to cover, but I'll just summarise the pertinent bits for GEOINT here and now, which is that there is significant investment, there will be significant investment over the next 10 to 15 years in Australia's strategic geospatial intelligence capability. And not only in AGO, but throughout the ADF. And that's because Australian government recognises that the ADF, the Australian Defence Force, cannot deploy without a current and common geospatial layer. It is absolutely critical to the operation of 4th and 5th generation platforms, and it's critical, as we heard earlier on the panel that I was on, to interoperability with allies. And because the ADF operates at a global level, this places a very significant production burden on AGO. The other major policy piece that has changed in recent times is what was called the Independent Review into the Intelligence Community, which in fact increased the size of the Australian intelligence community from a 6-member AIC to a 10-member National Intelligence Community. So once again, effectively overnight increasing the burden, the demand signal on AGO to produce for our closest customers. So the future for AGO is one of increasing demand, but also increasing investment by government. And government's investment looks like this. Government has a three-pillared investment strategy that invests in GEOINT from end to end: collection systems, mission systems, and critically dissemination systems, which will enable us to serve the warfighter wherever he or she is, connected or disconnected. The really important thing and the step change for this program is that it is a rolling and enduring program. There are 3 orange boxes in that graphic, and that they demonstrate the 3 major projects that are in delivery right now. And as you can see, they span collection, exploitation and production systems, and dissemination systems. But underneath that, you can see the follow-on programs that will flow through, that are programmed into the Defence's investment program over the next 10 to 15 years. So this means that we can engage industry in quite a different way than we have in the past. Previously, government's investment has been step change, or in steps. So a large investment and then a period of sustainment, then another large investment and a period of sustainment. And really the least way to achieve that kind of, or to deal with that kind of investment, was to engage a single industry prime who would work on our behalf to deliver our systems. So that is no longer the case. With this model, there is scope for AGO to take on the systems integrator role, because we can invest in an iterative, year-by-year manner, knowing that the program funds us over the out years. So we're looking to develop a more sophisticated industry engagement model. One where AGO is the systems integrator, and we're engaging directly with the original equipment manufacturers and the best of breed in the market, and quite particularly Australian small to medium enterprises. And the reason we want to be the system integrator is because we know our business best. But we recognise that industry knows technology best. And also it gives us the agility to change our system without returning to a requirements definition cycle and all the overhead that entails. So it gives us to be agile at the level of agility that our customer demands. And they say that a talk is no place for an original thought, but I'm about to have one, or that is that hot off the press, only hours ago in Canberra, the Defence Minister announced the Defence Industry Capability Plan. And this is the first time that Defence has actually laid out a strategic plan for engaging with industry, even to the point of identifying which industries Australia should develop to a level of sovereignty. And at its heart is helping Australian small to medium enterprises develop their capacity to become export-minded entities. With the kind of model, the investment model that we have now, we will be looking to engage with the small to medium enterprises that we know exist in Australia and that offer us a tremendous amount of capability. In fact, government requires of us that we bring forward regular plans as to how we are going to develop Australian industry and work to build local companies around us. And in fact, we already do this up to a point. We've had some experience working with SMEs in Australia, and we've found that over the years that we've done that, they've offered us very good value for money because they're very responsive to our needs, and they value the feedback that we give them that helps them effectively develop their product to a much higher state. But I do want to stress that I'm not talking about Australian industry to the exclusion of international industry. Our current international partners will remain our partners as long as they're offering best-of-breed technology. So in effect, what we're looking for is to have a stable of industry providers that we can integrate ourselves into the system that we think best meets our needs. We are currently in the definition stage of our next major refresh of our exploitation system. It's called DEF 100. This will be the first major refresh of our system since obviously the industry capability plan has been released, but also since AGO has taken on the significant new missions in the national intelligence space and at the unclassified level in the hydrographic and oceanographic areas as well. So this will be an opportunity for us to begin to define how we build that stable, that toolkit of industry strategic partners that we need over the next 10 years. And I look forward to dealing with industry and to learning from industry how they think they can best support us and also how they think we can best engage with them. And I know that it begins with communication, which is why I'm here today. But it needs to continue on to something more substantive, and we'll be looking for mechanisms that will help us achieve that. But I assure you that one of the themes of our capability plan going forward will be strong partnerships within Australian government and also into Australian industry and international industry. So please make contact with us. There's an email address that will come direct to us if you want to be part of our journey from here on. And if you want more information on the Defence Industry Capability Plan, there's a website that you can go to, and I've tested it. Despite being hours old, it is working and up and running. So, I'm happy to take any questions from the floor.
So
the questions have to be moderated.
Yes. This just in. Okay. So how easy or hard is it for a U.S. company to team with an Australian one, and do you help facilitate this process?
That's a good question. I think that Australian companies and US companies have teamed together often in the past, and we know of examples in our own experience. So I don't think it's difficult at all. I think that in fact it's an excellent way forward. If a US company thinks that they have an offering that's of value to us, teaming with an Australian company which actually builds the intellectual property and the capacity of Australian industry obviously is directly in line with government's intention here. Government is making really clear their desire that Australian industry is not just a shop front, but actually there is real intellectual property resident in Australia. So I think that's a fantastic idea.
Sweet. So what do you see as the biggest IT challenges to greater access to allied and commercial space-based capabilities?
Well, we had a similar question at the panel, and I think everyone agreed everyone agreed that cross-domain solutions are the major challenge. Ingesting the massive volumes of data up to our classified environment is a significant challenge. So I would add then to that it's not obviously only an IT challenge. There's a business model challenge, and my observation is that it's all about analytics in the sort of the Space 2.0 imaging industry. No one wants to sell you pixels anymore. They want to sell you value-added data, which is fine. But our business model, to a large extent, actually is focused on pixels. Now, maybe we're old-fashioned, but it's about, I suppose, our understanding of the provenance of the data. It means that we can work on it in our classified spaces, and we can fuse it with other classified sources. So I think that there needs to be a recognition of the different business models that are out there, and ensuring that companies are pitching to the business model of their customer.
Okay, thank you. So the previous speaker, Colonel Robinson, was from DIUX. He described an innovative approach that the U.S. has for small business venture capital investment. Does the Australian government have something similar in process to DIUX?
Well, I'm not sure it's innovative if you're copying somebody else, but
But imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
That's right. That's true. The Australian government has, defence in particular, does have mechanisms where startups can pitch their ideas. So the Defence Innovation Hub is one of these, and you'll find a link to that at the website that I gave you. And that is designed for startups to pitch ideas to the Defence Department. It goes through a process of down selection, and if successful, it could be funded. And we've had several of these ideas come to us at AGO, and we've supported not all of them, but some of them. Now, having said that, I'm confident that that is designed for Australian industry and Australian startups. But once again, if a US company thinks they have something and they're able to partner with an Australian company in a meaningful way, then they might be able to take advantage of that.
Sweet. So so you're saying we got a chance, right?
Yeah, you got a chance. You got a chance.
Could you describe AGO's and efforts to work with industry to produce foundation data and products?
So AGO is currently crafting out that strategy. We see a much larger role for industry and in doing the production to our specification, and AGO performing more of a data curation role. I can't give you more detail than that because we're only at the beginning of crafting this strategy, so I really don't want to get out ahead of that and say something that I'll have to take back later. So, but I think that the key takeaway is AGO sees there being a much larger role for industry in the production space than there has been in the past for us.
Okay, good answer. Do you encourage U.S. industry to work with Australian CRCs as partners when approaching AGO with ideas, products, or solutions?
Yeah, CRCs are cooperative research centres, and there has been one until very recently focused on the spatial industry, and they're another excellent mechanism for government to engage with, shall we say, slightly less than viable companies and fund them to a point where they can develop their product to where it's viable. So yes, I would encourage US companies to investigate the cooperative research centre sector in Australia. There are many of them, and they really span the full gamut of defence's interests from industry.
Do the CRCs work for AGO or for the Australian government? Or?
No, they are independent entities supported by government, academia, industry. They really act as a club, and if we are interested in their work, we buy into the club, as does industry, and so it's almost a cooperative. In fact, that's their name. Arrangement where R&D can be funded and then made available to all the members.
Okay. Given that the Australian Defence Forces are taking on a larger role for managing investments, how do you prioritize and allocate your resources effectively?
So there's a massive assumption in that question that we do it effectively, I guess.
They're giving you credit in advance, I think.
Yeah,
the accent alone just instills confidence.
Thank you. Well, that's the perennial question. So obviously we have many layers of governance that try and guide how we spend our money, and it's always a challenge to ensure that we're spending it effectively. In fact, the strategy that I had up earlier is our attempt to ensure that we are getting value for money over the long term. As we move to a more agile delivery of capability, away from the waterfall delivery of capability, we believe that ensures value for money. So instead of spending 2 to 3 years defining requirements and then another 2 to 3 years delivering something that was actually defined 3 years ago, if we can define requirements and deliver within 1 year, so the whole process is reduced and even on shorter time frames than that, that's how we believe that we will ensure value for money. And then the other aspect of that is our playing the role as the system integrator, which provides value for money because we understand our business and what we need, so we're able to shape the development much more effectively if we're hands-on. And if we believe that we're heading down the wrong path, we're able to stop that development and redirect it much more quickly. So those are the two main strategies we're putting in place to ensure value for money for the Australian taxpayer.
Sounds pretty efficient to me. Any other questions for Chris from the audience?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a pleasure.